Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. And as always, on this beautiful Tuesday, Mark Ellis and I are going over our Meg Ryan Sophie's Choice. Would we pick Dennis Quaid or Russell Crowe? It's been a heated debate.
Also here, Mark Ellis.
I'm still sweaty from the passion I just put into that debate. I was Quaid, I was Crowe, I was both of them. I'm neither of them. Go Deeks tonight.
Also here, Perri Nemiroff.
I'm sweaty too because it's sunny and beautiful here in LA and not in New York for those of you dealing with snow. Be warm, stay safe, and watch movies today.
Like
Isn't that what snowstorms are for?
Yeah.
Speaking
Kind
of
of.
movies that you might want to watch, there's a little film by Denzel Washington called Fences. Get back over there on Mark. Take a look at that fine
now,
chapeau we've got over there.
I'll tell you this. Now, you guys didn't put your hats on, and John said that
Mine doesn't fit on my head.
You didn't feel confident.
It literally does not fit on my head.
I've never worn a newsy cap because I am not 90 years old. I feel like that I put this on. I was a little nervous about it because I didn't know how it'd look. I put it on. Perri looks at me, and I've never seen this reaction from Perri before. She goes, "Oh." And then
I was sure it was going to look super awkward and weird, but
Yeah.
like you're rocking it pretty
John
well.
signed off on it, and then Cody and Riley signed off on it. Then I looked at Adam, and Adam didn't make eye contact. I was like, "Hey, Adam, is it good?" He's like, "Yeah, it's fine." And so
I'll tell you this. Dennis Quaid, Russell Crowe, or you in that hat? I think I'm going you in that hat. You rock
right.
that hat.
I'm a very pale Denzel, and I'll take it.
So what we got here is the official Fences hat, the type of hat that Denzel Washington, of course, wears in the movie. And, of course, the movie, I believe it's today, gets released on Blu-ray. So in cooperation with our good friends over at Paramount, we're going to do a little giveaway where you can get one of these fetching Mark Ellis Fences hats.
You can be me.
And you can be Mark Ellis, and you can get one of the Blu-rays. How do you do that? It's simple. Simply send out a tweet saying why you love Movie Talk. Make sure you include the hashtag Collider Fences. So put a little tweet about why you love Movie Talk with the hashtag Collider Fences. We will pick 3 people at random. You'll be contacted, and then we will send you out one of these fine chapeaus.
I'll be delivering it in my paper bike. Extra. Campea gives away hats.
And yeah, I'm going to come to your door and give you a hat. And of course, a Blu-ray. So send out those tweets and keep your eyes open and make sure you check out the movie Fences. All right, with all that out of the way, as happens sometimes, we've got a great list of topics here, but something else dropped this morning. Ashley, tell us about it.
A new trailer dropped for Despicable Me 3, revealing the first look at Gru's twin brother, Drew. The cast will see Steve Carell's Gru return alongside Kristen Wiig's Lucy as they go head-to-head with a new spiky-haired supervillain named Balthazar Bratt, played by South Park's Trey Parker. Balthazar is a former child star who's grown up to become obsessed with the character he played in the 80s. Despicable Me 3 will be released in theaters on June 30th. John, thoughts on the Despicable Me 3 trailer?
I really liked it. I thought it was cute and clever, and it kind of got back to the spirit of the first Despicable Me. I really liked the second Despicable Me too, but I kind of thought that maybe they were moving further away from what the origin was with who the characters are and how they interact and stuff like that. And I love that in this trailer they bring us back to, let's not forget, despite how cute and adorable they are, minions are villains. They want to be bad. And I love that little sequence there at the end of the trailer. I enjoyed it very much. I'm looking forward to this one. What about you, Perri?
I'm so excited for this as well. I'm a sucker for Minions. When that Minions movie came out, I was going to see it and like it no matter how good or bad that movie was. However, even though I did have fun with it, you got to go in there and recognize that maybe the Minions didn't really deserve their own movie. So it's really nice to see them back in the position where they're supposed to be and put the spotlight back on the kids, because that was one of my favorite parts of the first Despicable Me movie was Gru's relationship with his daughters, and it looks like that's going to come back into play here a little bit. And you know, the relationship with the new brother is kind of funny.
Yeah, I think the family relationship here between Gru, the daughters, and the brother is all going to work in such a funny dynamic. Like, I did not like Despicable Me 2 that much because I think they got away from the charm of the first one. And
Even with El Macho?
I just
I
did.
thought El Macho was great.
It didn't get me. The Minions solo movie didn't get me either, but I felt like the Minions just deserved to be in a better movie on their own. But having them as their classic sidekick role, what I'm really excited about in this movie is Balthazar. I mean, I think that villain looks hilarious, and it's almost like a Suicide Squad situation where we have to take people who are good at being evil to go get the true evil out there right now. I think this movie looks really, really funny. Back to form for Despicable Me 3.
All right, what's our first official topic today?
According to an exclusive report from Collider.com, Kingsman director Matthew Vaughn is Warner Brothers' top choice to direct Man of Steel 2, and preliminary conversations about the prospect have taken place. The report cautions that this isn't in the deal-making stage as of yet, and Vaughn could very well end up not directing the film, but he is who Warner Brothers wants at this time. And though a sequel to Man of Steel has been in the works for a while now, a release date has not been determined. John, what do you think about Matthew Vaughn directing Man of Steel 2?
I could not be more thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. Now, if any of you have watched me for any period of time, you know I believe Man of Steel is a masterpiece of the genre. I think it is the most underrated comic book film ever made. I think it belongs in the discussion with films like Avengers and Dark Knight and stuff like that. And I think the more I watch that movie, the more nuanced you're talking about. It's brilliantly told. The story about a god who thinks himself a man, discovers he's completely alien. I don't mean that as in the outer space term. He's completely alien to this world, growing up with the conflicting philosophies of one father who wants him to do one thing and just wants what's right and what's best for him. Then he encounters a whole new reality about himself, confronted with the philosophies of another father who also just wants what's best for him in the world, but they're diverging philosophies. And somewhere along that line, he has to discover who he is, number one, and then what does he need to be, and all that. And it's a beautifully told story. And a lot of times comic book films fail to be character films, and they focus just more on big explosions. And when that happens, you end up with Fantastic Four movies. But in this case, you end up with a beautiful character movie about Clark Kent and Kal-El. And I just think the movie is brilliant. And I remember you and I did a DVD review of our commentary of it. And I remember you went into it saying, I didn't really like Man of Steel that much. And then we hyped it up, and then you watch it with us, and then all of a sudden you were seeing things in it that you didn't see before.
Yeah, I became a much bigger fan of Man of Steel because I was sitting next to the two sweatiest men of steel of all time, John Schnepp and John Campea. So that got me more on board the Superman train in general and what this could mean as a franchise. So if you talk about Man of Steel 2, with Matthew Vaughn potentially directing, he's one of these guys who, whether he was doing Kick-Ass or Kingsman, it's like you know that every major studio wants to pluck this guy and have him helm a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie or a movie in the DCEU. And a lot of reports are saying that even if he doesn't get on the dotted line for this movie, he's somebody that DC has in their wheelhouse that they want to make a film. The real interesting thing about this to me is that there's also reports coming out that they're in discussions that this is not necessarily a direct sequel to the movie you so love, that it might act as more of a soft reboot for the entire franchise.
I think that comes from IO9, from Jermaine Lussier.
Jermaine Lussier, yes. So I don't know what this means for the future of the DCEU, but if you wake up this morning and you're a huge Superman fan or you're a huge DC fan, I think this is probably good news.
What do you think,
I think
Perri?
this is definitely good news. I really couldn't think of a better director to throw into the DCEU right now than Matthew Vaughn. X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass, Kingsman. Kingsman was one of my favorite movies of, 2016? 2015. He is incredibly talented. And the one interesting thing here is the IO9 story. That's kind of what's confusing me in trying to figure out where exactly this is going to fall. And oftentimes when I think of a director I love and I see him or her thrown into a big franchise, I can get a little frustrated because I want that person to be able to, do what they do and make it their own. However, in this case, when you look at someone like Matthew Vaughn, here's someone who's had a hugely successful career adapting things. And with X-Men First Class, he had to stay in that established X-Men box to a point and yet still made it feel fresh and his own. And he built character and he still had big action set pieces. So whether this does serve as a soft reboot for the character or if it is a straight sequel to Man of Steel, I think we're kind of in good shape with this no matter what. But then again, if he does go on and choose another DCEU project, that thing is going to be better off as well. So really, there's three excellent possible outcomes here. So I'm perfectly fine with any way this plays out.
That's an awesome point because X-Men First Class was a soft reboot to a certain degree. And I know you love talking about how X-Men doesn't really care about chronology or sticking with their current continuity at all. I think the DCEU is more cognizant of that right now. Yeah. But all of a sudden, just look at it today because this is a studio that has had a lot of directors sign on to do projects and then not end up finishing the project. So is this more going to be with Matt Reeves now doing the Batman movie and Matthew Vaughn doing a Superman movie, and all of a sudden, just the most recent news, it seems like we're starting to make some pars here, and we're cleaning up for some of those previous misses with directing choices that the DCU might have made.
The thing about Vaughn is that this is a guy, we talk about how the newest Logan movie, which is incredible, wouldn't have happened without Deadpool. I think to some degree, Deadpool never happens if it wasn't for the fact that in their back pocket somewhere, Fox had this little movie called Kick-Ass, where Matthew Vaughn proved to the world you can do a fun, funny, engaging, and exciting, and relatively successful R-rated comic book movie, and he did that with Kick-Ass. What he did with X-Men was incredible. He reinvigorated, at least at any rate, to me, the modern fairy tale with Stardust. Another one of, I think, the most underrated movies
Deep cut.
ever. Stardust is brilliant. I love that film. So the fact of him coming on and doing this. Now, this whole thing coming out of IO9 with this possibly being he used two words, reimagining, and then another phrase, soft reboot. And on one level, you can think of that in terms of this. Okay, minor spoiler alert with Batman v Superman. So Superman dies at the end of Batman v Superman. So you can use that as a way of saying it's going to be a new character. When he emerges out of his proverbial cocoon, he's going to be like a new kind of Superman. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is maybe this is a more company-wide reorganizing and reshuffling and reorientating their DC Cinematic Universe as a whole. Which one that is, who knows, whatever. We don't even know if Matthew Vaughn is for sure going to be directing this thing or not. But I just know this. The day they officially announce him, if that day comes, that he's directing Man of Steel 2, I'm going to be a happy puppy.
Let me take my rose-tinted glasses off for a minute here, because what does this mean for Justice League? If we have this movie coming, we have Wonder Woman coming out, then Justice League comes out this fall, and we're going to announce that Man of Steel 2 is coming out. If that in any way is a soft it could be the softest, downy, fresh reboot, but if it's coming on the heels of Justice League, we need to reboot that, really? We can't continue what we set up in Justice League? We have to watch this movie with all these superheroes getting together. That'd be like seeing the Avengers for the first time, then being like, all right, that was really fun. Let's take Iron Man in a different direction now. That scares me a little bit.
It scares me a little. I mean, the way that IO9 phrased it was, it could potentially be more of a soft reboot or reimagining, though nothing has been decided. Either way, the wheels are spinning. So my only concern here is that the wheels are spinning until Justice League comes out, until they get an audience reaction to that movie. And then if people are super into it, all right, straight Man of Steel 2 sequel. And if not, maybe we'll see some sort of reimagining of the entire DCEU to an extent.
It really depends. Like right now, we don't know what context he means. So when he says reimagining and soft reboot, that could mean any one of a million things. On the one extreme, it could mean in Justice League, something's going to happen. They're going to use the mother boxes a little differently. It's going to completely reset the timeline like they did in X-Men First Class. And they're going to, in X-Men Days of Future Past. And it's going to be a whole different universe. And we're going to, Armie Hammer as Dick Grayson is going to be the new Batman. And Henry Cavill is going to be, he never landed on Earth. He landed on Mars. And, maybe that. But it also could mean something as simple as, hey, we're just adjusting Kal-El's personality a little. Like he's going to come out of his death and he's going to be a little more lighthearted. He's going to be a little bit more Christopher Reeve like Superman. And it could be that could make him be saying, it's kind of a soft reboot. Maybe he just means it's something as minor as the character. It's such an ambiguous term that we really can't know for sure what he means by it until we see the movie.
Okay, well, in that vein, then I'm going to have a soft reboot of the Mark Ellis character starting on Monday. I'm going to have a cleaner office. I'm going to drink less Coors Light before noon.
Wear a
It's
different
soft
hat.
reboot.
See, as soon as you started with number one, I knew you were joking. I knew you were joking. All right, what's next?
Heads up, some might consider this next story a spoiler. So let's throw up that spoiler warning and we'll take it down once the story's over. All right. In an interview in Variety, Frank Oz was speaking about the legacy of Jim Henson's Muppets for the documentary he's a part of, Muppet Guys Talking, when the conversation naturally turned to the persistent rumors of his Yoda appearing in Rian Johnson's Star Wars The Last Jedi. When Variety asked about the reports, Oz responded, I feel like I'm a prisoner at war here, and I can only give you my name, rank, and serial number. To be true to the people who asked me, and they are kind of my family, I have to say I've been asked not to talk about it. I love Yoda. I would be happy to talk to you about it at the time they let me. Mark, did Frank Oz just confirm he's in The Last Jedi?
Frank Oz didn't confirm he was in The Last Jedi, but if you give me those tea leaves that he just provided, I can make a nice, delicious Last Jedi concoction out of it, because why would they tell you to not say anything if you weren't in the movie? You know, I mean, I understand that. They're like, hey, Frank, just don't talk, because a lot of people are speculating that Yoda's going to be in it, and if he's not in it, we don't want them to leave disappointed, but... Yeah, I was already surmising that we're going to see some sort of Force Ghost Yoda, and maybe Obi-Wan too in The Last Jedi. This points me further down that direction. So now, John and Perri, I'm so far into the woods of believing that Yoda is in The Last Jedi, I need to leave a trail of breadcrumbs to get me out, because I am deep in this forest, and I think Yoda's going to appear, not just because of what Frank Oz said, but it certainly helps my case.
I think, you know, he clearly didn't come out and explicitly say he's in. Me personally, and I could be interpreting this wrong, this is just my opinion, I am interpreting this as pretty much, it's like, if I asked you, Mark Ellis, I said, Mark, look, I saw you hand Ashley Mova a dozen roses. Mm-hmm. I saw you guys out at Wood Ranch having dinner.
Yep.
3 nights in a row, because apparently you don't know where to take a woman to dinner any other place.
That's where you take a lady.
Are you and Ashley dating? And then you say to me, John, all I can say right now is I want to respect Ashley's privacy. I'm not the type of guy to kiss and tell. And I think that
What
personal
an
level of my
analogy.
relationship needs to stay personal right now. I think at that point, any reasonable person is going to think, yeah, Mark and Ashley are dating. I mean,
Wood Ranch leads to love. Love leads to marriage. Marriage leads to kids.
I heard that they do have a good chopped salad. Perri told me that.
That they
they do have a good chop. But
Barbecue
listen, so
chop.
I do interpret this as, I think this basically is confirmed that he's coming back. But I want Jedi Council host, Christian, you're over here. Step on in here.
Oh.
We would be remiss if we didn't get your opinion on this. What do you think? Are you more or less expecting Yoda to appear in Episode 8, having heard these comments?
First of all, Mr. Mova, nice to see you. Listen, I absolutely think that Yoda is going to be in this thing. I think that we've talked about this on Jedi Council many times. I think it's been kind of rumored, but not in a way that everything is rumored. In a way that it's like the trails seem to be leading to this. So when he said it, I don't really think it's one of the, and even when you read it, first of all, if anyone from Lucasfilm was like, they're going to go, oh, fire Frank Oz. They're going to say, they're going to go, oh, all right, Frank's kind of pretty much let it out there. I think that you have to have him in there, because otherwise, what the hell? Yoda just showed up for a couple times and then never helped Luke out ever again. I mean, we know from the mythology that they're going to stick with people. Qui-Gon did it, and now we're going to have Yoda do it with Luke, and maybe he's even able to kind of share some of that knowledge with Rey through the Force. It also means I can say, I'm telling you, Ewan McGregor is going to show up in this thing too. Bye.
You know what's really
Thank you, Christian.
intimidating is that Christian is just off camera, like the entire show. He's just
hovering.
sitting there looming like an offensive coordinator.
Perri, what do you think?
I can still feel him breathing down the back of my neck. I think this would be a really weird statement to have made if there weren't some sort of discussions. It's just like naturally, as like a human being, who would have worded the response this way had they not talked about it? But then again, I'm just trying to think of the opposite side of this. For anyone who has ever been involved in the Star Wars film franchise, you would think that they would have had some sort of discussion with Lucasfilm. You know, when either it's a new episode movie or a new standalone movie coming out, don't say anything about anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they did give that blanket statement to just about any actor involved that could return in any movie. So there is that, but yeah, I'm with you, Ellis. I'd be very surprised if Yoda was not in Episode 8 at this
I
point.
also think even though he might have filmed scenes for The Last Jedi, he might not know how many of those scenes are actually going to be left on the cutting room floor. He did a lot of voiceover for The Force Awakens, a lot. He did a few lines for The Force Awakens, and most of that stuff got cut at the last minute. So he doesn't know how much he's in the movie. I just think he's going to be in The Last Jedi, and if not, he's definitely going to be in Episode 9 somehow.
That's a very good point, too. And he's just so important to Luke's journey. If we're going to get as much Luke as we're expecting, you kind of need Yoda's involvement or it wouldn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just because of the crazy amount of tweets and messages I am now getting, I suppose I should clear this up. No, I did not see Mark Ellis give a dozen roses to Ashley Mova, and no, I did not see them having dinner. So some people were just asking if that was real.
you didn't
But you
see
did
that?
see him at Wood Ranch.
But I did see him at Wood Ranch an awful lot.
Look,
All
I
right.
go to a lot of Wood Ranch with a lot of roses.
Usually on a table for one. All right, guys, it is Tuesday, which means it's time for us to talk about what is opening this week. We've got a big one with Mark Ellis's box office predicting skills on the line. Ashley, what movie are we talking about today?
It's Beauty and the Beast. Belle Emma Watson, a bright, beautiful, and independent young woman, is taken prisoner by a beast, Dan Stevens, in his castle. Despite her fears, she befriends the castle's enchanted staff and learns to look beyond the beast's hideous exterior, allowing her to recognize the kind of heart and soul of the true prince that hides on the inside.
It's funny. I have been looking forward to this movie so much, and I still haven't seen it. I don't see it till tomorrow night. I'm gonna go over and watch it tomorrow night, fine. So I have not seen it, but I've loved the marketing for this. Kevin Kline, I just love the fact that he's on there. To me, ever since A Fish Called Wanda, Kevin Kline is a small G god. I mean, that dude can do anything. I love that guy. And it was kind of funny. I saw this memed out on Twitter, but I should point it out here. All the hubbub and hullabaloo, and I've never commented on this, and that's fine. But the whole thing about, some people being really angry just because they're saying LeFou is a gay character, which, if you didn't know that already, it's so funny that a lot of people, and I think I might have heard somebody in this office say it before too, like, we got all this problem, LeFou's a character. They had no problem with Emma Watson humping a buffalo. That's cool. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. But just don't make LeFou gay. I mean, I thought that was kind of funny. But at any rate, I'm dying to see this. Mark, have you seen it yet?
I have seen the movie, John, and I can tell you this baby is $200 million worth of good. It is. It's up there with Cinderella, and I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than the live-action Cinderella. But it's exactly what you want from this movie, because there isn't a lot that you should change from the '91 animated version of Beauty and the Beast. It's cool to see it transfer into live action. I think everybody was cast so well in this film, from Emma Watson all the way down to all the talking appliances that are in the castle. It's a great time at the movies, and I think it's great for families. I think people want to see this. I think this is the movie. That's why I had this bold prediction, is that people want to see Beauty and the Beast come to life in a way that I don't think they care that much about any other Disney animated film, which is saying a lot, because I was a huge Jungle Book fan, and again, I thought Cinderella was great. I wanted to see Maleficent. I didn't want to see the movie I got, but I think this Beauty and the Beast is going to be very important to a lot of people's lives, because they grew up wanting to have this moment, and they're about to get it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with everything you said, minus the $200 million thing. I'm still thinking it's coming close to 150, which could potentially be record-breaking numbers, but not as big as 200 million. I loved Beauty and the Beast so much. There's a couple little issues that I can nitpick, especially the Beast CG. I've spoken about it before. It's weird seeing that and Kong so close together, because I thought all of the digital design on Kong was just so good, and then there was something about the Beast that felt a little off to me. Other than that, though, I think this Beauty and the Beast proves that, because we're always talking about, make original movies, stop remaking and retelling and reimagining stories. This proves to me that it is well worth Disney remaking all of their classics, because the story still has the same effect. And seeing it in live action, even if you don't change the story details, it still it feels the same but feels different all at the same time. And if this is the way to continue spreading the love for these stories, fine by me. I'd love it if younger generations could see the animated classics, but if this is going to be the way to get them there, that's cool.
All right, guys. Well, we reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ash, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Sony Pictures has announced The Girl in the Spiderwebs, the sequel to the Oscar-nominated The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, has found a date and will now debut in theaters on October 5th, 2018, with Don't Breathe director Fede Alvarez now officially confirmed to be helming the project. Justin Kroll, Variety's film reporter, followed up with the news that Sony and Alvarez are looking to start over fresh with casting, with Kroll stating in his write-up that both Natalie Portman and Scarlett Johansson are among the actresses in the mix to play Elizabeth Salander. No word yet on a start of production. Mark, buy or sell Girl in the Spiderwebs with either Natalie Portman or Scarlett Johansson in the lead?
I would buy the movie with either one of them, but really the story here for me is that Fede Alvarez is doing this new incarnation of the movie. Because I didn't I like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo just fine. I didn't walk out of it being like, oh, I got to see what happens next. But to know that we get a cool mystery like this with a guy like Alvarez directing it, he has so much talent. He has so much to say on screen. He gets so intricate into the story. I am excited just on that note. So I'll take a Portman, I'll take a Scarlett Johansson, I'll take anybody. You could put the Beast in there, and I would be really excited about it because Fede Alvarez is the guy doing it.
Perri?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Fede Alvarez just kind of changed the game with this film franchise for me. I liked the other movie as well, and I really do think that Rooney Mara deserved that nomination she got for it, but you know, I didn't care to see any more. But with Fede Alvarez at the helm of one, fine by me. I'm totally in. I wanted to see him do his own original idea next, just because I love his Evil Dead movie. A lot of you probably know. But Don't Breathe, I love what he said about Don't Breathe, where he called that his first feature, just because that was his first like baby where he had full control. And I think he did so much like spectacular work with that and having that kind of room to play. I'm not saying he's not going to have that with this, because I would imagine at this point, he's worked with Sony on all these movies. Sony should trust him, and I think if they trust him and they don't make him kind of repeat anything that we've seen in the past, I would love to see him make this his own thing. And as for all the actresses in play, I mean, none of that was really confirmed. I like the idea of picturing someone like Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman, but there's no confirmation whether that's a thing with like the studio where they've actually gone out to them or if they're just coming up with names right now. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out, because now that this was announced, I guarantee you at least once a month we're going to be, until they have cast the role, we're going to be covering, oh, now so-and-so is at the top of the list. So I'm curious to see how that shakes out.
I differ from both you guys on that. I thought Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the David Fincher version, I thought it was brilliant. I was completely captivated by the movie. It's one of the rare instances where a remake of a foreign film I actually thought was better than the original, and I did. And I thought Rooney Mara was outstanding in that. I thought Daniel Craig was really solid in that. Now, there have been a lot of rumors over the years that the things that have held it up was Daniel Craig wanted a lot more money for the next one. I think Fincher might have wanted more money as well. They weren't willing to go in that direction, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to sell this, not because I'm not excited about Fede Alvarez taking on something like this, because I am. I think that's great. I'm simply going to sell because if I had a choice between getting the original band back together to actually do the next film, or bringing in a new cast of characters, even one as great as Fede Alvarez. And at this point, look, there's no denying a Scarlett Johansson, a Natalie Portman. These are powerhouse, world-class actresses. But names like that, I can't see them in that role. The way Rooney Mara took that role and made it hers was so great. Look, I'm sure he's going to do a great job of it, and when I see the movie, I'm going to forget all about that first one. But just for now, it's going to be a sell for me. All right, what's next?
In an exclusive interview with Power Rangers director Dean Israelite, Collider's own Steve Weintraub sat down with the director for a lengthy chat, and during the interview, Israelite confirmed the existence of a post-credit scene. While nothing about it was spoiled, we do know that it'll arrive halfway through the credits, something Israelite did purposefully. It was always going to be a coda. It was always going to be sort of a post-credit scene. The only thing that we debated about that was where it comes 2.5 minutes after the main one ends, or is it going to come right after the end of the credits? So we decided to kind of break the credits up. Perri, buy or sell the appearance of a post-credit scene in Power Rangers?
I was going to try to make a joke about how I'm going to sell it, and then I saw that picture and I started smiling and I knew it wouldn't go away. This sounds like a silly story to be so excited about and to buy, but it's kind of cool how he was trying to place it properly, because we kind of forget when you're building a franchise, it's not just about dropping something in there to tease and sell the next movie. It also has an effect on the movie you just watched, and you don't want to ever walk out of a movie theater only talking about that coda or that post-credit scene. You want to be talking about the actual movie. So it actually is kind of refreshing to hear someone explain how they chose where it went in the credits, because I also think it was a thing where, some people just check out and they won't stay for the end of the credits to take their shot to see if there's something more. So this sounds like an appropriate decision, but God, my mind is swirling with so many possibilities for what we're going to see in that post-credit scene. I am just dying to see this movie, if you didn't know that already. I'm just betting on something about the Green Ranger.
What do you think, Mark?
I buy Perri taking this movie to Wood Ranch with a dozen roses. I can't get that excited about a post-credit scene for Power Rangers. I haven't seen the movie, and I'm not really a Power Rangers guy. However, I've heard from some good friends of mine who have seen the movie that it's a very fun ride. So in that vein, you would expect them, anytime you have a blockbuster type movie like this, they want it to be a franchise. Nobody sets out to make a Power Rangers movie or a Kong movie or any comic book movie or movie based on a famous property property, you don't set out to make that a standalone. You want that to be a franchise with multiple movies. The best way to do that is to already link it with something new that we're going to want to see in a couple of years. My only it's not a disappointment about this, but I think it's a good decision to put that thing, like, after, let some credits roll, give us a scene, and then let me get the hell out of there. There's only one type of movie that I'm going to sit through the entire credits for to watch a post-credit scene, and that would be a Marvel flick, because they do them so well time after time after time. So Power Rangers, give me some of the big credits, show me your scene, and then I'll think about watching who the key grip was.
Power Rangers is a conundrum for me. Because I thought it was a stupid idea to make this movie in the first place. I thought it was a stupid idea to invest $105 million just into the production of it, not knowing how much they're going to put into the marketing of it. And yet, I have enjoyed the trailers I've seen. I mean, I have. At this point, though, it's tough to know whether or not to buy or sell the idea of post-credit scenes, because the post-credit scenes, they become irrelevant if the movie sucks. At that point, it becomes irrelevant. Remember Aragon, that movie with the dragon, Jeremy Irons, and stuff like that, based on the highly successful novels? Remember, they had a big, important post-credit scene in that movie where John Malkovich, I forgot that he was the villain of that movie. John Malkovich pulls open the curtain. He's got his own giant dragon. Now we will wreak havoc on the world. And that's like the end credit scene. But there never was an Aragon 2, because the first one sucked and people didn't respond to it, and then they go out and it became ultimately irrelevant. Whether or not these post-credit scenes become something to talk about is going to be based before they ever start. It's all going to be whether or not this movie's any good. And if this Power Rangers movie can come out and recapture the imaginations of fans of the property and the franchise and stuff like that, if it can make $65 million opening weekend, if it can pull in like $65 million or north of that opening weekend, and get the people who are at least fans of the Rangers back on board, then those post-credit scenes become relevant and important and something we're going to talk about. However, if by the time they reach the end of that movie, if everybody's going, oh my God, let's get back to the car and get out of here, then the post-credit scenes become irrelevant. So I'm going to sell it for now.
I'm still waiting on the new sequel for Encino Man, because at the end of Encino Man, Pauly Shore puts on the sunglasses. He says, "I'll be back," and it's like
totally watch an Encino Man sequel.
Love to see that. That and Bill and Ted double feature.
All right, what's next?
Sony Pictures Animation has released a new Smurfs trailer along with 3 new clips. The fully animated new take on the Smurfs tells the story of a mysterious map where Smurfette and her best friends, Brainy, Clumsy, and Hefty, set out on a thrilling race through the Forbidden Forest to find the mysterious Lost Village before the evil wizard Gargamel. Smurfs: The Lost Village features the voices of Demi Lovato as Smurfette, Rainn Wilson as Gargamel, Joe Manganiello as Hefty Smurf, Mandy Patinkin as Papa Smurf, and Julia Roberts as Smurf Willow. It is set to open in theaters on April 7th. John Byer saw the new TV spot and clips for Smurfs: The Lost Village.
All right, so the previous 2 Smurf movies that came out that were hybrid animation, live action, and this is a complete reboot, by the way, those ones were widely panned. I will admit, the first one I thought was kind of charming. I kind of enjoyed the first one. I didn't think it was great, but I kind of enjoyed the first. The second one was a train wreck. So the idea of the Smurfs going back to just all animated, reboot it and do all animated was a great idea. Been looking forward to seeing these spots. Holy shit, these are awful. Like these are terrible. I've been looking forward to that, and I'm like, oh my God, they're here. And Riley gave me the links to watch. And I open it up in my office. I'm like, hey, let's see. Let's bring me back to my childhood. Show me something cute. And not one joke landed. Not one. It was annoying to watch. So, but who knows? I mean, maybe this, I thought the same thing about the first Smurfs trailers, and I ended up kind of liking the first Smurfs movie. So who knows? Maybe that'll be the situation here. I don't know, Perri, what do you think about them? So I sell, by the way. I sell.
How do I follow that up? I don't have a sell as intense as that one, but I'm going to sell it simply because I don't think this movie was made for any of us. This is clearly a very kid-appropriate Smurfs, like the other ones were. But I'll tell you, I thought that the first one was kind of charming, too. It was sweet, and it had a good family story to it. And then that second one was just like stupid silly to a point where no person over a certain age could have possibly enjoyed that. These clips are not good. I don't find them funny. However, I watch these and I think of my little cousins who will go see this movie, and I could see them giggling and repeating some of these jokes. I will say the one thing that I do like about everything I've seen from the Smurfs movies so far is the look of it. I think the animation looks really good, and the scenic design looks really good, and it's almost got a 3D quality without actually putting 3D glasses on, so I'll give them that kind of credit, but I'm still going to sell these clips, and I probably won't see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think teenagers can get stoned and watch this movie and enjoy the hell out of it. A lot of the same way they're going to watch Trolls and just be blown away by all the colors in that movie. This has a very similar look to the animation Trolls, which was really impressive. I'm going to buy the trailer. I'm going to sell the clips because I thought the trailer, like, because those other Smurf movies were like, they were so... Denzel Washington took them out of the trash in Fences. That's how bad those two movies were. But I think that this is what we always wanted, is I want to stay in the Smurf Village. If we're going to leave the Smurf Village, I'd like to stumble upon not New York, but another lost village. I think that's the right way to go with this franchise anyway. So just on the fact that they're not making the same mistake by trying to do the hybrid animation with live action, I'm going to buy the trailer and the overall premise of this movie. The clips didn't particularly get me intrigued to want to go see it. I do like the tag on the trailer, though, when you hear Smurf Willow talking. It's like, oh, that's clearly Julia Roberts. I think Mandy Patinkin sounds funny, and Rainn Wilson, I can't wait to see him being the voice of Gargamel. Have I really talked for a minute now on how I'm kind of excited about the Smurfs trailer? Smurf me.
All right, guys. I knew you were going to work that in there somehow. Hey, listen, we're doing this show live, and as we like to do, we're going to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions. How do you get a Twitter question on? It's simple. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video and just tweet on in some questions, and Wendy will pick a couple out at the end of the show. But I also want to remind you that Movie Talk is not the only show here on Collider Video. A little bit later today at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time, I believe it's 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, a very special 100th live episode of Heroes. Ooh. John Schnepp and myself will be joined by a whole bunch of people celebrating the 100th episode of the show. You're going to want to make sure you tune in and watch that. Also, a brand new Schmodown will be up a little bit later today with Team Action versus the Night Sisters. A brand new episode of TV Talk dropped yesterday. And, of course, every Friday, a brand new episode of Jeremy Johns' Awesome-tacular drops. I think you will like that show if you check it out. There is a link to the most recent show in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's go to the mailbag. Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Michael writes, hello all. I have been watching you since the AMC days. My question is this. I heard a few of you mention that you wanted more character development for the movie Kong Skull Island. Help me to understand. Do you mean you want more of Kong's backstory, or you wanted to know more about the humans? I just don't understand why we would need character development for a big ape movie. Thanks, and keep up the filthy.
It all depends on what your ambitions are. Let's go back to the Smurfs thing just for a second.
Oh, good.
Yes.
What I expected.
Let's use the Smurfs as an analogy for this. If all you want is a quick cash grab, then yeah, put together a little animated movie, and you just want to target kids, that's fine, with lots of bright colors, and make some fart jokes, and put in some cultural references that maybe some of the kids will recognize and stuff like that, and they will manipulate their parents into taking them to go see it. If that's all you want, that's fine. However, if you want to make a good movie, and you want to make something that kids will enjoy, that teens will enjoy, that adults will enjoy, you don't want to just capture the kids' attention with flashing bright colors, but you want to give them a story that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, like a lot of the classic Disney stuff that we grew up with. If you want to give the kids something that they can begin to cherish, and that the audience, the teenagers, the adults, can also appreciate and love it. If you want to make a Smurfs, fine. If you want to make an Up, or if you want to make a How to Train Your Dragon, or if you want to make a Ratatouille, or if you want to make animated films that the kids will love, but put more art into them, put more story into them, make them better movies, then you can do that, and you can put in the effort and do that at the same time. With something like King Kong, the way I described it in my review is like, look, you go into a movie called King Kong, you got a certain checklist of these are the things that a King Kong movie has to do. Has to do this, this, and this, and mostly it revolves around Kong. To me, they met all of those, so I enjoyed it. However, there's a secondary list of all the things that I'd like to see them do to take Kong from being just a movie that's just fun to go in and see a monster do a bunch of stuff that you're going to forget about in 2 weeks, or a movie that sticks with you, like one of those original King Kong things, that movies that sticks with you through your life when they add more effort. Look, you're going to have humans in a King Kong movie. So, are you going to just throw any human in there and make them one-dimensional and just speak their lines until you get to the next Kong shoot and you want to do a cash grab? Fine. You want to make a memorable movie? Well, if you're going to have the human characters there, why don't you put some depth to them? Why don't you give them some good dialogue? Why don't you have them develop a little bit and texture out this movie and make it a more well-rounded movie that more people can enjoy and stay with them longer than just 2 or 3 weeks? I enjoyed Kong. But I think if they put more effort into those types of areas, I think it would have gone from being just a good movie I remember seeing a couple weeks ago to a movie we're still talking about 2, 3, or 4 years down the line. And to me, that's the difference. I don't know, Mark, how would you describe it?
It's like Stewie Griffin. Hey, get some characters you want to develop.
That is one of my favorite Family Guy scenes.
Richard for the experience. If we didn't get a lot of that, but my big complaint with Kong wasn't that there wasn't enough character development necessarily. It's just that the actual dialogue that the characters had in the movie, I didn't think hit all that well. Having said that, I enjoyed the hell out of Kong. I think you gave a great synopsis of what the movie is and what you can expect, is that you're going to see a giant ape movie, and that's what Michael said, is like, why do we need all the character development in a big ape movie? Well, that is what separates a good, fun movie from a great movie. And you had the potential for greatness with Kong Skull Island. I don't think it got up to
Especially
that level.
with that cast.
Same thing with Pacific Rim. Like, Pacific Rim ended up being a fun, dumb robot fighting movie where it could have been a great movie. You want a great movie with a lot of character development that is technically a shark movie? That's Jaws.
Yeah.
And I don't go back and continue to watch Jaws just for the shark. I mean, I love Bruce, but it's also because they developed and they fleshed out those characters so well, and the dialogue they had still holds up to this day as some of the best written stuff I've ever seen, or improvised, depending on how much Bob Shaw had to drink that day. So I love watching big animals fight, but it's not what's going to keep me coming back time and time again. Kong missed the mark on that, but I still think it's a really fun theater experience.
There's
Say,
also
and I wanna go
big,
home.
there's a big difference between character development and backstory. I think you can have one without the other, and sometimes when you do a big exposition dump in order to give someone's backstory, I think that could be just as harmful as not having any
Sure,
character development at all. And in this case, the problem is just, it's not character development, it's just that the characters suck, period. They don't get good dialogue to work with, and they're boring. There's nothing special about any of them. I mean, I could think of so many big action movies where it's a situation where people get picked off one by one, and I don't really know anything about their backstory, but they're cool because they had a really cool scene with some good lines that I remember, or there's just something likable about them. I mean, I really, even a couple weeks after seeing it, I couldn't really tell you anything special about it. Like, Brie Larson's character is a photographer. Doesn't that make you love her? No, not really. But I was just watching, Alien the other day. And it's like, you think of that group, did anybody get a full in-depth backstory? No, I mean, they just get you into it based on the character interactions and what's playing out in the moment. And only because my sister's texting me about it right now, I'm thinking about Sing Street. I remember every single kid in that band, not because I knew like what their home life was like and all that kind of stuff, but because I loved them in the moment that they were in. And that is what this movie's missing, but not with Kong. In fact, I think this is the perfect example of showing backstory and giving characters good material to work with without actually just shoving it in your face, because this does a great job with building the Skull Island mythology and Kong's backstory without you actually feeling like you're being taught something. So that would have been a good thing to keep in mind when trying to build the human characters in this one.
All right, guys, I'd say we save some time for your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. Wendy, what have you picked out?
The first one comes from Kyle Miller, who writes, how do you feel about digital media, in parentheses he put iTunes, versus physical media like Blu-ray when it comes to owning films?
This makes me very unpopular with a lot of people. I have pretty much moved away from the physical media years ago. Like most of my movies now are in my Google Play Store. Like that's where most of the movies are owned. They're there. Don't get me wrong. I still have a whole bunch of Blu-rays at home. I still have a whole bunch of DVDs there. But now, when like the new movies are coming out, when Batman vs Superman came out, the first thing I did, buy it digitally, and it's there now in my Google Play Store. I can watch it anywhere, anytime, and it's there and it's safe. It's not going to get scratched. It's great. So yeah, I'm more of a digital media guy myself. There are some people who make the argument you're never going to get that, especially as we move into 4K. You're never going to get as pure of an experience as if you have like a 4K disc and a 4K TV. I'll concede to that, yeah, but it's the way streaming media works now is fantastic, and the convenience of it, the ease of it, that's just me. So I'm more of a digital guy. What about you, Perri?
I'm almost entirely digital at this point. I still have my prior DVDs and my screeners that I get, and I like watching them, but I mean, this is going to sound very silly, but even the frustration of looking through my giant collection of DVDs and having to go through, they're all alphabetized, of course, but having to go through and pick them out, it's annoying when I could just sit on my computer with my iTunes library and click play, and it magically appears on my TV in 5 seconds. And you get all the special features now. I just love I love everything digital, and it's so much easier to keep a bajillion movies on one hard drive than it is to keep going and trying to build IKEA shelves.
Why, you corporate brainwashed heathen. Yeah, I'm usually digital, too. It's so weird, because when I was a kid, like, all I cared about, besides when I was making out with a bunch of different girls, is getting the VHS tapes, like the home video collection, you know? They just the word home video collection sounded so cool, and I wanted mine to be awesome and, like, have the right movies on display and put them in the proper order. You'd alphabetize them or put them in, like, you know, chronological order of release or how much they actually meant to me. I still like having physical stuff like that from my childhood, but when new things come out, a lot of the reasons is because when I went to go buy this iMac, like, I didn't realize till after I had bought it that it didn't have a DVD drive anymore, and you had to buy that separately now. And I'm like, well, I don't want to lug that around. I'm on the road a lot, so I'm just going to have all the digital media right here. So I usually rely on digital to get the job done. But when you come to my apartment, unless you're Dennis Zen, who's not invited unless he brings $30, you are going to see some old school digital, not non-digital physical media on display. But that's just for show these days. We're watching a digital copy generally.
Ashley, what about you? Like, when you buy a new movie today, these days, are you going to Google Play, Amazon Store, iTunes, whatever to get it? Or do you actually like going out to Best Buy and grabbing a disc?
No, I love downloading it because I lose things all the time. So just having them, I never lose my computer though, thankfully. So just having it on my computer is so much easier. I got a screener like a few months ago, and when I went to go put the CD in, I realized that my computer didn't have the disc drive, and I was like, now I have to buy the external like CD thing. But definitely like downloading it more.
What about you, Wendy?
Wow, I feel like I'm like the grandma sitting at the table. I love going to the store and picking out like
Yeah.
the DVDs. I like having tangible things, but I guess I can see where you guys going with the digital thing, because I'm starting to run out of space in my house. So we've actually donated a bunch of DVDs to the library just the other day, because I was like, well, why do we have 3 copies of Lord of the Rings? I don't know why 2 people would need 3 copies of it, even though it's a good movie. So I think eventually I'm going to have to bite the bullet and go to digital just for room purposes. But I like going to
Having it.
Target and picking up DVDs.
Do you keep your DVD shelf beside your rotary phone? Is that where
We
you...
also still have a VHS player that we don't use, and it's sitting there collecting dust, but we still have a VHS
You should
player.
sell it to Antiques Roadshow.
Oh my God.
But keep this in mind. There are some movies out there, some great older movies that have never been converted to DVD or Blu-ray. Like, the last time I checked, they might have changed it by now. One of my favorite guilty pleasures of all time is Megaforce. Do you remember that? It's kind of like a G.I. Joe ripoff, where the lead character Ace says, "Life is like a wheel; it all comes around." But anyway, and it's got Devin from Knight Rider. He's in it and all that. Anyway, never been made available the last time I checked on DVD or Blu-ray. So, and look, and if you're a fan of the original Star Wars, for a long time, your only reprieve was to make sure you still had a VHS player. So there is some value in having a VHS.
I still have my Star Wars VHS box set. And
Do you
I still
have a VHS player?
In my parents' house, and I actually still have the same TV that my grandparents bought me for Hanukkah when I was 5 years old. It's one of those big box things with the VHS player built into it, and it was the hottest thing at the time when it came out, and now it's just super old and weird that I still have it. But it works.
If you guys are getting nostalgic about old school media, maybe if you guys do enough yard work for Mrs. Lee, she'll take you to the library. You can check out microfiche.
I'm struggling whether or not I should tell this story or not.
Do it,
Tell
man.
a story.
Well,
Tell a
Dude,
yeah,
story.
It's about
who
you.
tells a
Oh, no,
Megaforce
what
story?
did I do?
The juice.
Oh, the juice.
Okay, so
Perri knows
you brought
OJ?
up, I don't know why you just brought up Hanukkah and this came to my mind. Okay, so we're
Oh,
sitting around.
no.
I have never, ever been angry at Perri. Perri is like the most perfect thing to have around. Like, it's that plant that doesn't need sun or water. It's just always there, brightens up your room,
I forgot to water the Perri
Yet another
today.
great analogy.
But we had some kind of staff meeting out there, and I can't remember what it was about. And I was paying attention to something else, and then I clued in. And she was talking about this juice store, and they were out of something. I can't remember what the problem was. But I came in on the conversation where she said, "That damn juice store." And what I heard was I was sitting down, her said, "The damn juice store," is what I thought she said. And I said, "What did you say?" She's like,
my God.
"What?"
juice. And you know what juice shop I'm talking
Don't
about.
throw me under this bus,
See,
okay?
even now it sounded like you said
You're a
that.
creation just as much as I am.
I did go to Creation this morning, 7:15. Got a chocolate lover shake. It's a good juice.
Oh, that is a good
store.
one.
I don't know why I told that story. Okay, let's take two more.
We have to really enunciate now when we speak. All right.
Enunciation matters.
Chris Hartwell writes, would you enjoy Ewan McGregor returning for episode 8, but only to do motion capture for Alec Guinness as the Force Ghost?
At this point, look, we have become, even those of us who grew up on the original Star Wars, we are now so in tune with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think you'll be fine just doing Ewan up in the gray beard and whatever, and I think you'll be fine. I don't think there's any need to do that at this point. Look, if they said they were doing it that way, and they were going to tarkin up Ewan McGregor's face to look like the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, if they decided, I wouldn't be upset by it. That's fine. But I don't think there's no need. I don't think there's any need to do that. I think you can have Ewan McGregor, age him up, put on the gray beard, and I think it would be just fine that way. I don't know, Mark. What do you think?
Chris Hartwell asked a great question that I hadn't considered before because I just assumed if Ewan McGregor's back, it's just going to be Ewan McGregor. But if they could pull off the Alec Guinness thing, I don't think you need to do it. But if you could pull it off and you make it look perfect as a Force Ghost, you'd have some hair standing up on some arms, man. That'd be pretty impressive.
It would be impressive. It's going to go one way or the other. At first because I don't know, if we saw him looking like Alec Guinness and he didn't sound exactly
You gotta
like
get
him,
the sound right,
that
too.
that might feel off to me. But then again, I'm thinking about all the Tarkin stuff, which did work very well for me in Rogue One. So, I don't know. The execution would be so challenging, but there's no doubt if they pulled it off, I'd be super hyped to see something like that.
I mean, I thought it was so cool in Force Awakens when they just threw in the Alec Guinness saying Rey, because they took the afraid from when he says, don't be afraid. They took that and they made it into Rey, so you heard him say that in the Force vision. So that was actually Alec Guinness's voice. And it's like you hear it when you see that movie again, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. But Perri makes a great point. You got to get the voice exactly right, or else I don't think you should try it at all.
All right, last question of the day.
I just lost the question I was trying to pick. Oh, here it is. Okay, Jack Cole writes, what DC property that isn't connected to the current Justice League movie would you like to be Warner tackle? Okay, I guess would you want to see Warner Brothers tackle?
That's a good question. I mean, because you can't even say things like Booster Gold or Blue Beetle or anything like that, because there's talks that those might be in development already, and we've seen them in like Smallville. We've seen incarnations of them there. Green Arrow's obviously around on the CW network. You got a whole bunch of their characters popping up on the CW stuff now. I think any of the major ones that I'd be really super interested in seeing something about, they're kind of doing. I mean, you can't even say Hawkman, because Hawkman had an incarnation on Smallville. But if you're talking about in the cinematic world, I think Hawkman would be a really interesting one. I think there's a cool story. But they're doing that they've got him in CW too. So I take it all back. I don't know that there is one that I'd be super interested in.
Well, I can cheat a little bit and bend the rules if I'm going to say DC Vertigo. I would love to see Sandman have some incarnation on the big screen. I know Joseph Gordon-Levitt was talking about he was in talks to, I think, help write it and star in it. I think those fell apart, but I'd love to see Sandman on the big screen. It's a story that deserves to be seen by everybody.
I think it was one step further. I think he said, no, it's done. I'm doing it. I'm doing Sandman, and then eventually that
Sandman
fell apart.
became like the Crow for a couple months there.
Yes, great analogy.
That's what I do.
That Newsies hat really brings the best out in you. All right.
I don't even want to think about this because I don't want to hear about another character being thrown into the DCEU at this point. I really just want them to take the ones that they've announced and just make good movies. Because my mind, as someone who did not grow up reading DC comics over and over, I just want to be able to soak it in and start loving these characters rather than trying to wrap my mind around a whole bunch of them. The one that just piqued my interest, though, that I started researching when the news broke, is the one that they announced the one that they said that David Ayer suggested was the villain of Gotham City Sirens, Black Mask. Because I liked the idea of his crew and just like the cinematic nature of seeing people with masks like that, because my sick, horror-loving mind thinks that would be great.
All right, guys, well, that'll do it for this installment of Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you?
I'm in town this weekend, John, flinging papers at your doorstep, and you can also find me on Twitter at Mark Ellis Live. You can get tickets to upcoming shows, including Columbus, Ohio, and Buffalo, New York, at markellislive.com.
Over here, we got Perri Nemiroff. Perri, where where can people find you?
You could find your favorite Jewish office plant at Perri Nemiroff on Twitter and Instagram. And then also check out Collider Behind the Scenes every Saturday.
Over there, we got Ashley Mova.
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And of course, Wendy Lee.
On YouTube at The Movie Couple Channel, and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And of course, you guys can follow me simply on Twitter or on Facebook, just at John Campea. I'm making a lot of announcements and things like that on those channels, so make sure you follow me there. That'll do it for us, guys. Special thanks to all the guys behind the scenes, and special thanks to you guys for taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.